It's interesting to consider how we have basically entered a second Cold War situation here in the United Kingdom. Indeed, the mass media is fanning the flames of anti-Russian hysteria, which is all very interesting indeed. This is all to do with the creation of an enemy that can basically prop up the military industrial complex and make money for munitions industry by the creation of the so-called enemy, basically. So it's all very interesting to consider indeed. Sorry, I was basically experimented on by the GIU in a closed facility at Vladimirovka Air Base in 2013. And this testing involved contacting extraterrestrial entities, though afterwards I was given amnesia, so I forgot most of this information until my 35th birthday. In the weeks after I turned 35, I began to remember exactly what had gone on. Indeed, I was programmed as a ghost operative by the GIU, basically carried out 17 assassinations of political enemies of the GIU during the years 2013 and 2014. I was also put through the Soviet equivalent of Cosmos programming, and therefore was programmed to be a schizophrenic alien spy, on top of my schizophrenic super spy programming originally done by the MI6 networks at Grenville Lodge. So very interesting to consider indeed. I've had a lot of programming. I've been programmed with cat's eyes programming, i.e. a Masonic form of programming originally learnt from the Jesuits. So it's all very interesting to consider indeed. It's also interesting to consider that the GIU project that I was involved in as part of GIU Unit 11913 was interconnected with the International Organization for the Destinies of the World, which itself interlinks with Jesuit agendas. So it's all very interesting how all of this interconnects. Indeed, this situation is arising between the United Kingdom and the Russian Federation could cause me trouble, because the wheelchair populace see me as a pro-Russian operative, even though I am not. I have absolutely no alignment at all to the Putin regime or the Russian intelligence and security services. Indeed, I do often operate utilizing Russian sources, but these are Russian mental patients. Russian mental patient conspiracy theorists operating out of various psychiatric facilities across the Russian Federation. And indeed, I had some connections with certain cosmic Russian mental patients who were being stored in the underground facilities in devices as part of the Roundway experiment, and these cosmic Russian mental patients have influenced me. Indeed, as I've stated, I am operating on the theory of Itzhak Bentov these days, that 20 to 30% of mental patients found in psychiatric wards, and as he termed them, nut houses, are actually of a higher stage of evolution than the remainder of society. However, they can't adapt. And indeed, I see myself as one of these 20 to 30% of mental patients who are of a higher stage of evolution than the remainder of society. So it's all very interesting to consider indeed. Troy Southgate of the National Anarchist movement is attempting to have me sacrificed by a network of Satanists operating out of Warminster. Indeed, I believe I may have already identified these Satanists through my cat's-eyed vision the other day, because they were looking rather shady as I walk past them. Indeed, they are operative for vermin also. So it's interesting to consider. Indeed, regarding references to vermin and Troy Southgate, one must study my video diary to understand who they are. Indeed, vermin is an operative of the Order of Nine Angles network 764, operating out of Calm Police Station, where I believe he is being kept in protective custody and is occasionally let out to rape children. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, vermin is being kept in a protective suite at Calm Police Station and is then let out on occasion to commit atrocities, basically, indeed, which is his forte. And indeed, Troy Southgate was a key mind control programmer in my overall experience of the Gladio program. Indeed, Troy Southgate is an operative of the British Security Services, MI5. He is also a Freemason and a Mossad agent. So it's interesting to consider, considering his outright anti-Semitism, the fact that Troy Southgate is actually an operative of the Mossad. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, Troy Southgate runs a network of serial ritual sacrificers and child abusers that basically claim to be an anarchist network. So it's all very interesting indeed. I was guided towards this network's facade by the Scientologist programmer Leonard Johnson, who is deeply into psychopolitics. So his agenda aligns with certain Soviet Illuminist agendas also, despite his being an outright Hitler faction Nazi. Indeed, it's interesting to consider. I was guided towards the National Anarchist Movement Network's facade and was basically under the mind control of Troy Southgate for a couple of years. Indeed, he is a programmer of mental patients. So it's interesting to consider this. The fact that the far right are attempting to manipulate mental patients as part of an overarching Nazi Fourth Reich agenda. It's interesting that they prey on the most vulnerable people in society and attempt to manipulate them towards authoritarian thinking. Sorry. And Troy Southgate's networks are operative for the SVR at times due to Troy Southgate's interconnectivity with Alexander Dugin, one of the chiefs of the SVR, and this is part of a Trudovik faction that wished to implement Soviet Illuminism in the United Kingdom. So there is an ongoing conflict between Bavarian Illuminist and Soviet Illuminist traditions, attempting to control the Anglosphere. So very interesting, though it does seem that the Soviet agencies, especially the GRU, are coordinated by Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst networks, such as the Steppenwolf faction of SS Obergruppenführer Dietrich Kammler, operating out of Leipzig. Indeed, it's all very interesting to consider. These Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst networks are psychopolitical in the same way that the Soviet intelligence services are psychopolitical also. One must also take into account that the British eugenicist intelligence services are also psychopolitical, attempting to influence psychiatric policy and bring in Reesian agendas such as the rule of society by a cabal of psychiatrists and an army of 5,000 psychiatric shock troops that would basically control the minds of the population. Not to mention that there are many currents within the British intelligence services that want to implement the mass implantation of schizophrenics with microchips in an attempt to basically stop any rebellion by the cosmic thinking schizophrenics against the cryptocracy. which is basically what it boils down to. Indeed, as I stated before, there is a cosmic war occurring between schizophrenics and Freemasons, and one may expand this to the fact that there is a cosmic war going on between schizophrenics and the secret government's intelligence branches. So, intelligence agencies and schizophrenics do not see eye to eye, because paranoid schizophrenics, especially the 20 to 30% of paranoid schizophrenics that are considered by Itzhak Bentov to be of a higher stage of evolution, this 20 to 30% of paranoid schizophrenics are able to see through the cracks in the intelligence agency's agenda. And this can mean the exposure of certain intelligence agency black ops that the intelligence services do not want the public domain to be aware of. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, this is a cosmic war going on between schizophrenics and intelligence operatives. Indeed, I've described before that there is a sinister underworld of spies and madmen. And as a paranoid schizophrenic with amnesia, intelligence operatives are always trying to trick me. Indeed, I believe I've been receiving fake transmissions from so-called renegade intelligence operatives attempting to leak information to me, but I believe a lot of the information may be suspect. So it's all very interesting indeed. However, there does seem to be networks of both British and Russian renegade intelligence factions that wish to shut down the Roundway experiment. Indeed, it's all very interesting to consider the Roundway experiment and the downed craft outside Warminster military base in 1994 that contained a couple of characters who supposedly looked very similar to me, of cosmic Russian heritage, who were then taken to Bristol, put in a secret facility, given lobotomies, and were forced to work for the Crown. Indeed, it's all very interesting to consider that the British Crown, through the Cecil family, attempting to protect the royal family's reputation, wished to lobotomize me utilizing the Lighthouse network. As I've already delineated in several previous videos, the Lighthouse network are after me, attempting to abduct me and spirit me away to Shropshire, to a secret facility there, which is run by Order of Nine Angles operatives, who are themselves operative for Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst continuums within the British intelligence services that are themselves loyal to the monarchy. So therefore, I would be lobotomized and forced to operate for the monarchy. So it's interesting to consider. Indeed, there was a lobotomy given to Annie Crook during the Jack the Ripper case. Indeed, she was wholly lobotomized by the Freemasonic surgeon who was responsible for many of the Jack the Ripper slayings. So it's very interesting to consider when you start getting too close to the monarchy, the Cecil family shut you down. Indeed, it's interesting to consider that at the time of the Jack the Ripper murders, the patriarch of the Cecil family was Robert Gascoigne Cecil, and the current patriarch of the Cecil family is Robert Gascoigne Cecil as well, his namesake. So it's interesting to consider. Indeed, I met Robert Gascoigne Cecil while I was at Grenville Lodge, and he was operating under the code name Mark Hodge at the time. It wasn't until several years later that I saw a picture of Robert Gascoigne Cecil and realized it was Mark Hodge. So it's very interesting to consider. Indeed, the networks of gang stalkers, i.e. predators who have been caught up in the Masonic web, attempting to influence my brain with voice-to-skull technology and techno-demons, are operative for a Master Mason of the United Grand Lodge of England, Samuel Buchan, who himself is very close to the Cecil family, i.e. the chiefs of the British intelligence services. Indeed, the Cecil family have been custodians of the monarchy since the late 1500s. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, the Cecil family have been highly influential in the changes of dynasty that have been operating as the monarchy of the United Kingdom. So the Cecil family are technically a crown family, i.e., a network of crown Templars that sit behind the monarchy. Indeed, it was the Cecil family who chose James Stuart to head the English monarchy in 1603, and it was the Cecil family who were highly instrumental in the ascendancy of the Saxe-Coburg-Gotha bloodline as part of an agreement between British intelligence and the Bavarian Illuminati, who put Queen Victoria on the throne as a debt of honor for the Gothas, the Saxe-Coburg-Gotha family, keeping Adam Weishaupt safe in Gotha after his expulsion from Bavaria. So it's all very interesting to consider how all of these networks interlink. Indeed, the down craft that came down outside Warminster in 1994 was being remotely controlled by the GIU. And indeed, these mental patients that were found on board were part of the schizophrenic alien program, most probably Unit 11913 of the GIU. And indeed, it's interesting to consider that the GIU would remotely fly these mental patients on an experimental craft over a British military base, which shows that the GIU don't have much respect for their own schizophrenic operatives. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, as I stated before, I'm not only a targeted individual in British Freemason police intelligence targeted individual programs, I'm also a targeted individual in a Russian intelligence program being run by the FSB out of St. Petersburg. Indeed, I do believe that there are Russian satellites above Warminster at the moment tracking my movements and attempting to coordinate surveillance of me for the FSB. Indeed, I believe I have been deemed an enemy of the state by the Russian Federation, which is interesting considering all of these devices, these connected networks, keep attempting to make me out to be a GIU operative. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, I am not a GIU operative. I was a mind-controlled asset of the GIU. I was never a fully fledged operative. Indeed, all of the operations that I carried out for the GIU during the years 2013 and 14 were under mind control hypnosis. Indeed, I was a Manchurian candidate. Indeed, all of my operations for British intelligence were non-consensual also. Indeed, I was part of the Gladio program and was inculcated with Nazi fetishist ideology. So all of my operations as a neo-Nazi were under mind control also. So it's all very interesting to consider. I am just a mental patient. I am in connection with cosmic intelligence. I'm basically part of the 20 to 30% of mental patient paranoid schizophrenics that Itzhak Bentov believes are of a higher stage of evolution. Indeed, I am parapsychotic. Therefore, I have a psychosis that exists alongside conventional psychosis, basically. So it's all very interesting, and this is a connection with cosmic intelligence and the ability to channel my girlfriend, Catty, who was murdered by the Grenville Lodge Freemasons in 2012 when we were attempting to expose Grenville Lodge Freemasons as Hellfire Club operatives, and basically what they are, ritual sacrificers and demonic mind control programmers. So it's all a very interesting situation to consider. Indeed, I'm basically finding this situation existing between the government of the United Kingdom and the Russian Federation to be very strange, because I believe that the British intelligence services may patsy me in some way, then make me out to be an intelligence operative of the Russian Federation, and attempt to kickstart another phase of the hybrid war that is existing between the intelligence services of the United Kingdom and the Russian Federation. Indeed, I'm going to leave it there now.